Flavius Josephus and the Historical Jesus. 1. Josephus as a source. Flavius Josephus, c. 37 to 100 CE, was a Jewish priest, Pharisee, and historian whose major works, The Jewish War and Antiquities of the Jews, are among the most important literary sources for first-century Judaism and Roman Palestine. Because Josephus was neither a Christian nor sympathetic to the early Christian movement, his testimony is routinely regarded by historians as one of the most significant non-Christian references to Jesus of Nazareth. Modern journalists and historians alike continue to emphasize Josephus's importance. The Associated Press has described him as the most important non-Christian source on Christ's existence, reflecting a broad scholarly consensus that Josephus independently attests to Jesus as a historical figure. The Testimonium Flavianum and scholarly evaluation. The most famous Josephine passage is found in Antiquities 1863-64, traditionally called the Testimonium Flavianum, TF. Scholarly discussion has focused on whether the passage has undergone later Christian modification. A major quantitative assessment of this debate was conducted by Dr. Louis Feldman, who surveyed 52 modern scholars regarding the TF. 39 judged that at least part of the passage is authentic, 4 regarded it as entirely genuine, 6 as mostly genuine, 20 as authentic, with some interpolations, 9 with several interpolations, 13 as entirely interpolated. The results indicate that the dominant scholarly position holds that Josephus originally wrote a core reference to Jesus, even if some phrases, particularly those expressing overt Christian confession, were later altered by copyists. Now, number 3, historical claims, derived from Josephus, Habermas's summary. Drawing upon Feldman's survey and wider Josephine scholarship, Dr. Gary Habermas, who participated in the assessment, has summarized a set of historical claims that most scholars judge to be recoverable from Josephus' authentic core. 1. Jesus was regarded as a wise and virtuous man. 2. He attracted numerous followers among both Jews and Gentiles. 3. He was condemned under Pontius Pilate. 4. Crucifixion was the method of execution. 5. Jesus' followers reported that he rose from the dead. 6. They claimed that he appeared to them 3 days later. 7. The disciples continued publicly proclaiming his teachings after his death. 8. Some believed him to be the Messiah foretold by Israel's prophets. Josephus elsewhere provides 2 additional historically significant data points in Antiquities 20.209. Jesus was the brother of James. 10. Jesus was called the Christ by some. This second passage, often referred to as the James reference, is widely regarded by scholars as authentic in its entirety, since it appears in all manuscripts, lacks Christian theological embellishment, and is consistent with Josephus's narrative style. The Josephine text, Antiquities 18.63-64. The traditional Greek version preserved in medieval manuscripts reads, open quote, "Now, there was about this time Jesus, a wise man, if it be lawful to call him a man. He was the Christ, for he appeared to them alive again the 3rd day," close quote, because phrases such as, "he was the Christ," and explicit affirmation of resurrection sound confessional. Most historians propose that Josephus originally wrote a more neutral description that was later supplemented by Christian scribes. Support for this view comes from Arabic and Syriac paraphrases, e.g., Agapius of Hierapolis, 10th century, that present a toned-down version. Jesus was thought to be the Messiah, and his followers reported resurrection appearances. Linguistic analysis showing that the surrounding vocabulary and syntax are characteristically Josephine, while a few phrases resemble later Christian proclamation. The presence of the uncontroversial James passage in Antiquities 20, which presupposes that Josephus had already mentioned Jesus earlier in the work. Nar 5. Corroboration from other non-Christian sources. Josephus does not stand alone. Several other 1st and early 2nd century writers independently confirm key elements. Tacitus, Annals 1544 c. 116 CE, states that Christus was executed by Pontius Pilate during Tiberius's reign. Describes the early Christian movement spreading from Judea to Rome. Pliny the Younger, letters 1096 c. 112 CE, reports Christians worshiping Christ as a god, notes their ethical commitments and communal practices. Lucian of Samosata, 2nd century, refers to Jesus as a crucified teacher whose followers persisted after his death. The Babylonian Talmud, later compilations preserving earlier traditions, mentions Jesus' execution and reputation as a miracle worker, albeit polemically. Together with Josephus, these sources reinforce several central historical conclusions. Jesus lived, attracted followers, was crucified under Pilate, and inspired a movement that rapidly expanded after his death. Number 6. Historical significance. When treated according to standard historical critical methods, Josephus supplies independent Jewish testimony to Jesus' existence, confirmation of crucifixion under Roman authority, evidence that resurrection claims and messianic beliefs arose immediately among Jesus' followers, identification of James as a leading figure in the Jerusalem church. For this reason, Josephus occupies a central place in modern reconstructions of Christian origins and is routinely cited in academic treatments of the historical Jesus.